Most football manager saves are rebuilds, but in this one, we're doing the opposite. We are setting out to destroy Man City by ruining their finances and getting them relegated from the Premier League. And we have to do all of this without getting fired. This is Destroying Man City, a football manager anti-save. All right, we are at the beginning of season 2 of the Man City anti-save, where we are trying to destroy Man City without getting fired. And at the beginning of season 2, we are in a bit of an interesting position because the overall balance of the club is now £312 million. We have around £200 million in the transfer budget, and we have about £800,000 to work with in payroll at the moment. We have, of course, though, made some progress last season with our squad composition, in particular, getting a much older squad than we previously had. As you guys can see here, there's a little spoiler alert because we've signed Lionel Messi, a 38-year-old Lionel Messi. I'll explain that more as we start to look a little bit at the transfers. But the issue that we still have with the squad at the moment is that Man City are just really good. Erling Haaland is arguably the best player in Football Manager, and we still have players like Rodri, Ruben Dias, Ederson, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne. Even though some of these players are aging, they're still really good, so it's going to be hard for us to play bad. And my plan is to release those players when their contracts come to an end, or that they'll age out and just kind of gradually decline with age. But the main focus of this season will be destroying the overall finances and balance of the club. The big decrement to trying to destroy a club is their infrastructure. And the main thing that we're looking at in their infrastructure is their financial status. So right now, Man City's financial status is rich with an absolute ton of money in the bank. So this is what we're going to need to try to mitigate this offseason. And the beginning of that process was signing Lionel Messi. We've only signed Lionel Messi for about £2 million, but the reason I've signed him is because he's 38 years old, and even though he's so good, he is such a good player, we have given him a big contract, £500,000 per week for a 38-year-old. So I don't mind signing a great player like Lionel Messi, because we're paying him a huge contract. So hopefully that will help me to ruin the finances of the club. And something we have to remember from the club vision is that we do need to sign high reputation players. The board has asked that we sign high reputation players. There's not many more high reputation players than Mr. Lionel Messi. But that being said, we are currently on the 24th of July. We have the entire preseason to get through still. And that is the plan for this preseason. It's to sign a bunch of mid players, continue to kind of ruin the squad composition, and just spend as much money as we can on players who probably don't deserve it so that we can destroy the finances of Man City. So this is the short-term plan. The long-term plan is, of course, to continue to make the squad worse and worse, continue to destroy the finances. But we're in season 2. City's squad is still amazing, so we're going to focus on the financials. So we're at the beginning of preseason. I'm going to play through, and I'll show you what we've done. All right, we have moved forward to August 12th, right at the beginning of the season. And we are in a very good position, I think. We've had a very good preseason as far as kind of trying to destroy the club is concerned. Unfortunately, we still have 154 million in the bank balance. We couldn't completely destroy the financials of the club in one preseason, but we are well on our way to it. I don't know if you guys can see here. Currently, we're on course to pass financial fair play rules for the Premier Division, but we're not for the Champions League, which tells me we're doing something right financially. Additionally, we've spent pretty much all of that transfer budget. We only have £1.2 million left. But the important thing is we're over £1 million over the payroll. As you guys can see, we're about £1.2 million over the payroll. And that is exactly what we're trying to do. Spend all of the transfer budget and be over the payroll, because that is what is going to allow us to financially ruin this club. So let's talk transfers, because we had a lot of them. Of course, I showed you guys earlier, we signed Lionel Messi. But boy, have we made more signings. We have made a ton of signings. We have spent nearly £500 million. Now, you're probably looking at that and thinking, how did you spend so much money? Well, the reason we spent so much money is because we sold Rodri. And we sold Rodri for £105 million. Now, you're probably thinking, why did you sell Rodri for so much money? Well, the answer is that we spent all of that money immediately. So even though we got £105 million for Rodri, we were able to spend £105 million and more and include so many more transfer clauses down the line that we've made this £105 million way more than that. And ultimately, we had to sell Rodri. He's too good. So when you get a Saudi Arabian offer for a world-class player and you're trying to make the squad of a lower quality, you take that offer. So what did we spend all of that money on? Well, first, we spent £75 million on Mr. Jared Bowen, a player who is not, in my opinion, Man City quality. He's also older. He's in his prime years, but he's 28 years old, and he's really not that good in game. I think Jared Bowen might be a little bit better in real life, but I don't think his attributes are that good in game. I think he's kind of an upper mid-table player. We've signed him for £180,000 per week on a 5-year deal with an optional 3-year contract extension. So theoretically, he could be here until he's 36 years old, and I don't see him playing a whole lot. Next up, we've brought in Karu Mitoma from Brighton. We've brought him in for £70 million. I think we have vastly overpaid for him. You can see that by his value not even being worth what we paid for him. But we have signed him on a huge $135K per week deal. Again, 5 years with an optional 3-year extension. And the thing that got me about Mitoma is I thought he was a lot younger than he is. He's actually 28 years old. So again, we've got him here until 36, and he's just kind of average for our squad. We've spent over £150 million on 2 players who are just kind of average. After that, we've brought in Serge Gnabry. We've signed him for £60 million. We needed to sign players of a high reputation. Serge Gnabry is of a high reputation. We've brought him in on a 6-year deal if you include the optional contract extension, $250K per week. So we're paying him a ton of money. And he's 30 years old. He could be here until he's 36. He doesn't have good natural fitness, so he's going to continue declining. I think Serge Gnabry, again, is just, he's 3 stars. He's just kind of average. I know he's at Bayern, but I don't think in game he's as good as he is in real life. I think this is a good signing as far as we needed to meet the club expectations of signing high reputation players. So we've signed an older, high reputation player for a lot of money. After that, we signed Yuri Tielemans. Again, just an average player. We signed him for £55 million, but with future fees, this will end up going to over £100 million. We have like $50 million in future fees on this deal. And again, he's so mid, and he's not even like a meta player in Football Manager. He has poor jumping reach, poor pace, and poor strength. He has no physicals. He is not a player that can perform in the match engine. So we've spent in the long term £100 million on just an okay player. After that, we brought in Ferland Mendy. We signed Ferland Mendy for £50 million plus some add-ons as well. I'm not going to lie, Ferland Mendy's a pretty good player. I regret signing him because he might actually be too good. But the big reason that I've signed him is squad composition. He is 30 years old, and we've signed him on a 3-year deal on £195,000 per week. So again, this is me trying to get older players into the squad, but he is actually pretty good. This might not have been the best signing in the world. Along with that, though, I've decided to massively overspend on Antonio Rudiger. We signed him for £50 million, but with additional clauses, that is going to rise to about £105 million. So we have massively overspent for a 32-year-old central defender. The thing is, we also have good central defenders already, so I don't know how much Rudiger is going to play. But we've signed him on about a 4-year deal, so we'll have him until he's 36-year-old on £275,000 per week. I think this is a pretty good signing as far as destroying squad composition and massively overpaying for him. And again, signing a player with a really high reputation to fulfill what the board wants from us. Next up, we've signed Rodrigo De Paul. We've signed him for 45 million plus some additional add-ons. I actually don't think Rodrigo De Paul is very good in the game, but we signed Messi. I figured we'd sign one of his World Cup winning friends as well. And again, for a Man City player, he's not that good. He's only 3 stars. I think he's actually worse than that. They have him as a world-class midfielder. He is not looking at him in game. But again, he's 31 years old. We're paying a huge amount of money for a 31-year-old. He is one to destroy the squad composition and just make the team a little more average. And again, that's just about half of the signings we've done this transfer window. We have spent huge money. Next up, we've signed Curtis Jones from Liverpool, 38 million going to 43 million pounds. I've signed him again because he's pretty mid, but I needed an English player. I realized we weren't going to meet squad registration rules. So I wanted to spend money on an English player. Again, 38 million pounds for a player who's just kind of there. We're paying him a lot of money. If he gets 5 international caps, we'll pay him even more money. But again, we've got him for 5 years. We are overpaying for him for 5 years. For a player who, again, is pretty mid, we went and signed Chris Richards too. Chris Richards is the definition of just like an average mid-table defender. We've signed the American for, what was it, like 35 million pounds straight up. We're paying him 100,000 pounds per week. And we've got some bonuses on him because I don't think he's going to play a whole lot. So I've given him a bunch of performance-related bonuses, like winning the Prem, avoiding relegation from the Prem, and reaching the 5th round of the FA Cup. So hopefully we'll also be paying him an additional 15 million. The bonuses are something I discovered real late, because what I realized is that they don't go towards the wage budget. Like none of this counts towards the wage budget. Like appearance fees and shutout bonuses will kind of, if you look at the negotiations, they will count towards the wage budget, but these bonuses do not. So I only just realized this at the end of the transfer window, but any future players I sign, we're going to look to add a bunch of these bonuses. After that, we signed Clement Lenglet. Again, a player who I don't think is very good. We signed him from Barcelona for 12.5 million pounds. We've given him a very big contract. We've given him a 3-year extension. So he's here for potentially 6 years as a 30-year-old. And we added in those contracts for just, if we avoid relegation from the Prem, he's getting 7.5 million pounds. If we qualify for the Champions League, the Europa League, he's getting another 7.5 million pounds. If we reach the knockout playoff round of the Champions League, 3.7 million pounds. And if we reach the quarterfinal of the Champions League, he's going to get another 2.5 million. These are all things we should definitely do. And he should definitely be getting at least, 20 million pounds in bonuses. Next up, we signed this guy, Eric De Silva Moreira. I actually don't know anything about him, but I didn't have much in the transfer budget left, and I just wanted to spend some money on players. I just needed to waste some money, so we signed this guy too. And then finally, we signed Axel Witsel for 2 million pounds. Again, I just had some extra money. Axel Witsel is not very good. I mean, we're paying almost 100,000 pounds per week for a 36-year-old. I mean, he's literally never going to play. His pace is 9. He's terrible. So he's just a player we signed to waste some more money on. But those are all of the transfers. Again, we have spent a massive amount of money. The other thing is too, now we have tons and tons of future transfer clauses that Man City are going to have to pay. We still have, look at all these transfer clauses on Jared Bowen. He owed 10 million per year plus all these 5 million clauses. If we continue to scroll down, Eric De Silva Moreira, 50% of his next transfer fee is going to be owed to Forest. We're also paying a bunch of transfer clauses there. We still have the stuff from Dansgaard and David from last season. Rodrigo De Paul, if he plays 20 league games, we're going to owe 12.75 million to Atletico Madrid. Plus, there's all of these installments. Continuing to scroll down, Serge Gnabry has a bunch of installments. Curtis Jones has a bunch of installments. Clement Lenglet has a bunch of installments. Ferland Mendy, Lionel Messi, Mitoma. Every single Chris Richards, every single player we've signed, I made sure to put tons and tons of installments on, including your AT Elements here. So the club will be spending money well into the future. So this is good because if we can continue to destroy the finances in the short term, we can keep them destroyed through these long-term transfer clauses. And then the last thing we've done here to kind of help with just spending a lot of random money is in the staff. So if you can see here, I haven't signed all of the staff, but some staff needed to be re-signed to their contracts. If we look at someone here, Juan Molilo, my assistant coach, he's on $30K per week. Your assistant coach should probably be the person who you're spending the most money on. But I've re-signed the head of youth development to a $400K per week contract. And I've re-signed some of the coaches as well. I don't remember who they are. Yeah, Maurizio Trombetta, $165K per week. I mean, he's getting played like a player. Miguel De Agostino here, $110K per week. Dennis Bergkamp, $165K per week. And so on and so forth on a few of these coaches. So as the coaches run down their contracts, I'm going to re-sign them, and I'm just going to re-sign them for an exorbitant amount of money. So we should be able to use that to our advantage to help bankrupt the club. Looking at the expenditure in our finances, as you guys can see, actually, I think my face might be blocking it, but we spent the most money on player salaries and the most money on bonuses. So 220 million was spent on player salaries and 123 million was spent on performance-related bonuses. And then as far as staff salaries were concerned, we spent 47 million. So our goal this season is to really increase those numbers. But that is how things are looking financially. Looking at the squad composition, as you guys can see here, we have a lot of old players. Everyone here is over 30 years old, and pretty much everyone here is signed to pretty long-term contracts. So Messi down to, if we scroll down here to Manuel Akanji, they're all above 30 years old, and this is the squad composition that we're looking for. An aging squad who is going to continue to decline with no hope of any potential, and hopefully they'll do kind of poorly. Of course, though, we are still trying to stay in the job. The whole point of this is that we need to be at City for as long as possible. Right now, we're at a B rating. Our job security is secure, which is exactly what we're looking for. And we've done some things that we wanted to do. We signed high reputation players. They're really delighted with that. And what we always want to do is make sure we're struggling with the payroll. That is hugely important. But looking at what we need to do this season, we need to reach the latter stages of the Champions League. We need to win the Prem. Oh, that's not good. I don't want to win the Prem because we need to steadily not win the Prem. That could be difficult, but we need a challenge for the FA Cup, be competitive in the Carabao Cup, and we won the Community Shield earlier this season, so hopefully that'll give us a little bit of a buffer. But we are one step closer to destroying Man City. We've spent a lot of money on players who are either old or not very good. We're continuing to ruin the squad composition, and we're spending a lot of frivolous money on bonuses and staff now. So this is the situation we're in. This is the beginning of Season 2. Let's simulate Season 2 and see how we get on. And at the end of Season 2, we have finished in second place and we are still in a job. This is exactly what we're looking for, to slowly lower the expectations at the club so that we don't need to do as well. We can slowly lower Man City and still be in a job. This is exactly what we're looking for in Season 2. Liverpool have absolutely dominated the league, and we have finished in a measly second place. I'm actually surprised that we are still in a job, but let's look at the schedule to see how we did this season, because we did not meet Prem expectations. So looking through the season, an early loss to Chelsea set us on our way. We lost to Bayern. I wonder if we did in the Champions League. We got knocked out early in the Carabao Cup, so we didn't get a Carabao Cup buffer. So how are we still in a job? That's the big question. Looks like, okay, we're doing well in the Champions League so far. Losses to Spurs and United. They would not be happy that we lost to United and Arsenal. So not doing good there, but a relatively good January. Looks like we did well in the league phase of the Champions League. We got through against PSG in the round of 16. That was probably important for our job. We lost to PSG in the final last year, but Erling Haaland doing quite well. Quarterfinals of the Champions League. We went through against Benfica, and we beat Portsmouth in the FA Cup semi-final. So we made the FA Cup final, And it looks like we played Bayern Leverkusen in the Champions League semifinal, got through pretty easily there. So we made the Champions League final and the FA Cup final, and we lost in both. Let's go! We lost on pens in the FA Cup final, and we lost in the Champions League final in extra time to Liverpool. Liverpool completely dominated this season. This is brilliant because we didn't win the Prem, but we did well enough in the Champions League, well enough in the FA Cup, and we won the Community Shield. And because of that, we just probably got a little bit of enough of a buffer so we did not get fired. This is what we want from this save, to kind of do well but not win trophies. This is the perfect season. And sure enough, looking at the club vision, we are in the job by the skin of our teeth. A C rating is really not good. I don't know if I've ever had a C rating in Football Manager before. This is fun. I'm enjoying this. But we didn't get down to a D, so we never had the talk that we might get fired. A C rating is good because overall, they're still satisfied. We're lowering the expectations. But next season's going to be tough. We might have to win the league and we might have to win the Champions League to stay in a job. But we'll see because we need to make sure our contract expires after next season. We need to make sure we sign a new one. I am curious to see, how did our players do this season? Well, we were absolutely carried by Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland had 48 goals this season. What a player. 26 goals in the league, but he was a lot worse than last season, which we had the same tactic. I don't know if I talked about that, but we played literally the same tactic as we did last season. So I'm surprised that he actually did worse. We're literally playing the same tactic. I wonder why he did so poorly. But overall, nobody was outstanding. And Lionel Messi actually did really good. He was the top assister. But look at these numbers. Other than Erling Haaland, I don't think anyone was outstanding, which tells me that looking at the squad composition, the fact that nobody was outstanding, I think we're on the right track here. As players continue to get older, they will continue to do worse. This is a good position to be in. And the club finances are definitely worse than we were at this point last season. Overall balance is in the red. We have £240 million to work with, though, so we can continue to push that into the red. And looking at expenditure, I don't remember what we said for last season. So last season, most of our money was spent on player salaries, bonuses, and staff salaries. Wow. So we spent most of it now on staff salaries. So paying all that staff really helped, and double the player salaries. And bonuses, we can work on adding more bonuses. We only spent about 50 million more in bonuses. But it looks like staff salaries might actually be the move for destroying the club. Next season, we are going to spend a lot of money on staff salaries. We could get that to £500 million in staff salaries. We have made some really good progress here. We went from financial status rich to financial status okay in one season. This is a very good position to be in. I think we can definitely destroy Man City. I don't know if Football Manager will let the club go into administration, but the fact that the financial status is only okay at this point, we've made a lot of progress in one season. And looking through next season, I think Lionel Messi, I think he's the end of contract now. He is a player we're going to want to re-sign. Let's actually just go to contracts. Yeah, I actually forgot that I did that. I put in a new offer for Lionel Messi here. So hopefully we can get him on a new long salary. But, if we can. Axel Witsel here, maybe we can sign him. No, he's retiring. But we don't have too many players who our contracts are ending. It's just Messi and Witsel here. And then next year we'll look at DePaul, Walker, Holland, Ederson, Ruben Dias. So some of those guys. But I think players we want to re-sign, definitely DePaul, definitely Walker because he's old. But I am not re-signing. We are one season away from being able to release Erling Haaland for no money. And that would be perfect because we would lose some of those goals. We are in a good position here. This was a good season. We're so close to being able to release Haaland. We've signed a bunch of just mid players. We've really made the age of the squad. If we look at this age, we are old. We've signed a bunch of mid players. and we have done a lot of damage to Man City's financials. This is a lovely position to be in. Season 2, destroying Man City, absolutely a success. But all right, that is Season 2 of Destroying Man City. We've essentially done the bare minimum to keep the job. We only won the Community Shield. I mean, we can effectively say we won no trophies this year. We've continued to sign players who are just old or mid. We have a squad composition that's really old, and we are finding new places with some of the staff salaries and bonuses to be able to just waste money in this team. This is exactly what we wanted from Season 2. But that's all I've got. This is episode number 2 of Destroying Man City. Again, new episodes will come out every Friday until the series ends. But I hope you all have enjoyed this. We are still not fired. We are still on our way to destroying this club financially and squad composition wise. And hopefully we'll be able to just continue to allow the club to deteriorate. Again, this is a long-term project. We're trying to do this all without getting fired. My hope is that maybe in 7 to 10 seasons, we'll be able to complete this project. But again, thank you all for watching. I hope you all are taking care of yourselves and doing well, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!